Guys, so this is going to be my WWE Super Showdown prediction video. Super Showdown emanates from Melbourne, Australia on October 6, 2018. This pay-per-view network special deal is being set up to be such a huge event. I believe that the stadium they're actually having it at holds 100,000 people, full capacity. Now, I don't know how popular wrestling is in Australia, but I have a hard time believing it's gonna sell out to be 100,000 people. I would assume it would be maybe like 60 to 75,000 people, which is still a huge, massive amount of people, you know, going to this event. And of course, because, you know, wrestling doesn't really go to Australia all that often, and I don't know, these kind of specials where they go overseas, I kind of feel like it kind of takes away the prestige from WrestleMania, because if you think about it, WrestleMania is the only big attraction for the entire year that holds 80,000 to 100,000 people at the stadium in the United States. Now, one could argue that it doesn't necessarily make a difference because it is overseas, so it's not kind of in the same realm as WrestleMania, because WrestleMania is always in the United States. But I still feel like if they're gonna have these big field network specials like the Saudi Arabia show, the Australia show, and then Mania, it's like those are all neck and neck because the capacity is still 70,000 people plus for these events. But I think it's great in terms of marketing and kind of growing your audience, you know, a bigger reach outside of the United States. It's good to build brands and build superstars around different countries. That way, when you travel to said countries, you do have a lot of fans buying tickets to see their favorite hometown superstars. So, for example, the Iconics, Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, they're having a match, as well as Buddy Murphy is also Australian, he's having a match. So without further ado, I am going to jump into my predictions. So keeping up with what I was just saying, the first match to open the card is going to be for the Cruiserweight title. We have Cedric Alexander going up against Australia's own Buddy Murphy. So Cedric Alexander, I think, definitely became champion when the division was totally in disarray. Enzo got released because of the allegations that he was going through. Cedric Alexander really had to build that division from the ground up, so to speak. You know, Neville did what he could, but once Neville left, Enzo completely just trashed that division even more so than its original intention, with all the people and just like not being produced right, and there's just a lot of creative flaws to that show, especially being on after Smackdown when everybody's tired. It never really worked out. I'm glad that they switched times for 205 Live, by the way. So I have to give Cedric Alexander a lot of credit because he did build that division up, and I think he's a phenomenal athlete, so incredibly talented, athletic AF. But I think it's time for a title change, and who better to win the title than, in my opinion, the best talented athlete on 205 Live right now, and that is Buddy Murphy. Now, the cherry on top of him winning the title is that he's doing it in his home country, which is Australia. I think the pop for him would be huge, and I think it kind of goes with the storyline. I mean, Cedric can't be champ forever. I think they kind of have to freshen things up a little bit. So I think it does make sense to have Cedric Alexander lose. And not only that, we can't expect all the titles to stay the same on such a huge promoted show. You know, this is being promoted for a while now, so I think there's going to be something that's going to change. So I'm going to go with Buddy Murphy to win the Cruiserweight title. Up next, in a random filler match, we have big match John Cena and Bobby Lashley versus Elias and Kevin Owens. So this match is completely random, and I'm just glad Elias does have a match on the card, about friggin' time. But unfortunately, I think that Elias and Kevin Owens are going to lose here, and of course Big Match John is going to win. You know, Big Match John has not appeared on TV or WWE Network since the Saudi Arabia show, the Women's Royal Rumble, back in April. So by that point it'll be 6 months because the show starts October 6th. So John Cena's doing other things, you know, he's doing other endeavors, he's doing acting, he's doing TV, he's doing all that kind of stuff. So I kind of hate that whenever Cena comes back, he always has to win, you know? It would be beautiful to see Elias and Kevin Owens go over because I feel like they definitely need it. You know, Lashley doesn't need it, but Elias is somebody who, time and time again, I will forever repeat this, Elias has been on the main roster for 1.5 years. Give him an actual feud. You know, he had that little taste of a good feud going with Rollins, and that was only for about a month, from June to July. Give him something. He's been on the main roster for so long. The fact that he just gets kind of like thrown around from storyline to storyline and it's nothing ever really pans out. It's always just him getting interrupted while performing. He deserves a lot better, but unfortunately the faces are gonna go over here. For the WWE Smackdown Tag Team Championships, we have the New Day going up against the Bar. So I feel like the Bar has to win. I mean, I feel like people are sleeping on them again. The Bar is amazing. They're gonna win. They have to win. I'm going with the Bar to win, even though realistically, booking wise, I feel like they're gonna have the New Day win, but I just feel like the Bar needs to win. They need to reclaim their titles. They need to reclaim their top spots in that position of SmackDown because they are the top athletes on SmackDown in the tag division. Up next, in a women's tag match, we have Asuka and Naomi versus Billie Kay and Peyton Royce of the Iconics, the Aussie Queens. So if this was in any other arena or country, I would say Asuka and Naomi hands down are gonna win. But being that Billie Kay and Peyton Royce are definitely the homegrown talent of this show, a lot of people are buying tickets just for them. They cannot make them lose. They would get such boos if Asuka and Naomi won. You could protect Asuka by having Naomi take the pin, of course, even though it is a loss for Asuka. It's not technically because she didn't get pinned. Of course, it has to be Billie Kay and Peyton Royce to win. How could they not win? They have to win because they are iconic, simple. And I think in general, just going with storylines, they definitely need a big victory because they've just been jobbing left and right since getting to the main roster. It's about time they start building these women up. They sell really good merchandise. Their merchandise numbers are pretty high, especially for not really being promoted all that well. So I think they deserve this victory here in their home country. I think it would really put like the icing on the cake for them and definitely kind of boost their self-esteem in terms of being in the business because it's got to be really hard to just get called up to the main roster and constantly lose, especially since they were decent talent in NXT. They weren't jobbers at all. They were actually pretty like very close to like the title ranking. So going to the main roster and always losing, it's gotta kind of affect you in some way. So I would definitely go with the Iconics though to win. Next, for the #1 contender for the WWE Championship, we have Daniel Bryan going up against The Miz. So, I feel like The Miz deserves this spot. I think The Miz should win because he's been killing it day in, day out for the past couple of years. I would be happy if The Miz won and then ultimately won that WWE Championship in the coming months, but I don't unfortunately see that happening. Yeah, I think it's gonna be Daniel Bryan to win. I think it's pretty apparent that Daniel Bryan is going to be penciled in to win here, and I'll get into that in a few minutes when I get into the Samoa Joe versus AJ Styles match. Up next, we have the 6-woman tag match. We have the Riot Squad, my girls, I love them so very much. Ruby, I love you. Versus Ronda Rousey and the Bella Twins. So, surprisingly enough, I actually think the Riot Squad are going to win. Yes, I know that's quite surprising considering we have, you know, big match Nikki and we have Ronda in the match, but I feel like with the way, unfortunately, they're planning Evolution, it looks to me like they're going to have Ronda versus Nikki main event Evolution. And that's nothing against Ronda. I like Ronda, but Nikki is probably going to main event Evolution because she's famous outside of WWE. She's got 2 TV shows in her name, and they like to build the division around her for whatever reason. I don't know. They should build the division around people who can actually wrestle, people who want to wrestle, people who don't want to be reality TV stars. Just a thought. But I definitely think the Riot Squad are going to win, and here's why. I think there's going to be a lot of miscommunication between Nikki and Ronda during the match. I think Ronda and Nikki are going to be distracted outside, kind of getting at each other's throats a little bit, yelling at each other, just for miscommunication purposes. And by them being distracted for a minute, I think that gives Ruby Riott the perfect opportunity to take advantage. And she's going to get the victory for her squad, and that's going to be everything, seeing that, because the Riot Squad definitely need this victory. It's not like they could lose this. They keep losing on Raw, so to win at a big show like this, it's going to propel them, in my opinion, and I think they definitely need this more than the other bitches. So Ruby and Liv and Sarah, they're going to win. Queens. Up next for the WWE Championship in a no disqualification match, we have AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe. AJ Styles has had an amazing reign as champion. He's done so much in his time with WWE. He has helped so many people advance their careers. Look what he's doing for Andrade Cien Almas. He's giving him top tier matches every time they face each other, and that's just a taste of what Almas can do. It goes to show you how amazing of a performer AJ Styles is. He can work with anyone. He can make anyone shine. That's an incredible talent. The fact that he can literally help anybody put on a really good match. He is truly phenomenal. But I have to say, if Samoa Joe and AJ Styles have a feud where it's so long, just like Nakamura and AJ Styles did, it's not going to end well, in my opinion, for Samoa Joe, because Shinsuke could not get the job done after 5 times facing AJ. So in my opinion, I feel like it's time. I think Samoa Joe is the perfect candidate to take that title from AJ Styles. And don't sleep on Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe can deliver promos like no other. I think this whole feud with AJ Styles is proving how good Samoa Joe truly is on the microphone. And I think he's just one of a kind. He's so unique and he's so agile for a guy his size. I think to freshen things up and just make things kind of interesting, you know, they should drop the title for AJ. They should just give it to Samoa Joe and let someone else have it, you know? AJ's amazing, but at the end of the day, it's kind of getting a little redundant, because how many matches can he really have with the same person before it gets boring, you know? 5 times with Shinsuke Nakamura, and everybody thought it was going to be a dream match, and all those matches left so much to be desired, and I hope that this doesn't happen with Samoa Joe. So hopefully Samoa Joe can win here, and I just want to see what happens if Daniel Bryan actually defeats The Miz, because I would love to see Samoa Joe versus Daniel Bryan. Even AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan would be great. We did already get that on a Smackdown, but seeing Samoa Joe versus Daniel Bryan really takes me back to Ring of Honor 2002, 2003. It gives me those vibes. So I think it would be really fun, but I think Samoa Joe is due, definitely. He's definitely due for that victory. For the Smackdown Women's Championship, we have Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair. So just like I was saying with Samoa Joe versus AJ Styles, I think we're getting too much of these same kind of matches, because we're going to be getting this in a few weeks at Evolution. We're going to be getting Becky versus Charlotte again. So it just makes sense for this match to kind of end in a no contest, because if Charlotte loses again, it kind of makes Charlotte weak going into Evolution, in my opinion. So I think this match is going to end in either a draw or a no contest or a count out, something of the sort. Becky will still have the title at the end of the night, but I don't think that's going to be a clean finish or a fair finish in any regard. I don't think that Charlotte's going to be getting pinned or tapped out or anything like that. I think it's going to be a more dominant finish at Evolution, but I don't think we're going to get a definitive finish at Super Showdown. I think it's kind of just going to be a bump in the road just getting to Evolution, and I think after Evolution that's going to end their rivalry, because it's going to be way too drawn out after that point. That's what I was saying before. You cannot have these people have 10 different matches. It gets so boring after a while. You know, 3 matches, more than enough in the rivalry. We don't need 4, 5, 6 matches. It just makes us want to, you know, blow our brains out, especially with so many talent on the roster. You know, they have so many choices to go with, but then they want to have 7 or 8 of the same matches, the same people in the span of 3 months. Why? That makes us so bored, and it's just such an insipid storyline after a while. Now, luckily the storyline's still good, but if they keep giving us the same match, 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 we're not gonna care after a while. That's how people lose emotion and lose investment into feuds, because they're battered to death. This match is going to end in a no contest, making both women look decent going into Evolution. In my personal match that I'm most looking forward to, the 6-man tag, we have The Shield, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Dean Ambrose versus Drew McIntyre, Dolph Ziggler, and Braun Strowman. This match is going to be incredible. I cannot wait for this. But I don't think there's going to be a clear, definitive winner. I think this match is kind of going to end in a no contest as well, because they don't want to make either team look weak. I don't know if I want to necessarily call Strowman, Ziggler, and McIntyre a faction. They kind of are, but they don't even have a name attached to them yet. But would you consider them a faction? I'm not quite sure if I would consider them a faction yet. I think they're just together out of necessity. Mostly Strowman and Ziggler McIntyre. Of course, Ziggler and McIntyre are a package deal. Strowman's kind of just meshed in there together. But I don't think it makes sense for either team to lose here, so I think it's going to be a no contest. I think this show is kind of a pit stop just to get to either Crown Jewel or Survivor Series the following month. That's when I think the rivalry is going to end between these men. This show is just basically a pit stop. That's basically the best way I could describe it. I think the show is kind of like a vacation for the superstars, in the sense that their rivalries aren't going to end. They're just kind of chilling, you know? They're waiting for the big show, which is either Survivor Series or Crown Jewel, depending on what Vince wants to do with Saudi Arabia's card. But I definitely don't see this feud ending anytime soon. I think this feud has another 6 weeks of life to it for The Shield versus Strowman's crew. Though I will say I would love Strowman's crew to win. I feel like that would really help them out so much, seeing as McIntyre deserves everything. I love him so much, but I don't think either side is going to win definitively here. And for, I assume, what is the main event, it's the biggest match that's being built up thus far for the past 2 months. We have what is being advertised as the last match ever, which is Triple H versus The Undertaker. Now, it is very imperative to mention that Triple H is going to have Shawn Michaels in his corner, as well as The Undertaker having Kane in his corner. So, how can you have The Undertaker lose? You know, I understand that, you know, it's not a WrestleMania, so he can lose if they really wanted him to, but I still think, even though it's, you know, not a WrestleMania match, I think The Undertaker has to win this, you know. I'm very curious to see what Shawn Michaels is going to do, being at ringside supporting Triple H. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with that, but it just wouldn't make sense for Triple H to go over here. I think Undertaker definitely should go over. It just helps The Undertaker's credibility, in my opinion. But I think the show is going to be solid. My problem with these shows is that they're having way too many shows all kind of, you know, glued together in just like 4 to 6 weeks. There's so many shows, and I think that they should have learned from that from last year, but they didn't. There's a lot of shows coming up within just 1 month. I think WWE has to be a little bit more smarter in spreading these shows out, because they're putting a lot of content in, and it just seems like it's too much too soon. You know, we have the Super Showdown in 2 weeks. We have Crown Jewel. We have Evolution. We have NXT TakeOver War Games, and we have Survivor Series, all in the span of 6 weeks, from October 6th to November 20th. That's 6 weeks, and that's so many shows. So if you guys like this video, please subscribe to my channel, and please tap the notification bell to be notified every time I upload a video. It is very important to me. I love you guys so much, and I will be back very soon with new videos for you. Bye!